After an insane rally, Xpeng is now out of the portfolio, yielding more than 65% in just a week. Will I be able to pick more stocks like Xpeng this week? Well, I don't know, but I will, as usual, try my very best. You are listening to the StockInvest.us podcast Trading Tips with Jim, and for the next some 30 minutes, I will tell you what I think will happen this week. I will also tell you a little bit what I think the next few months hold. It's a very interesting period coming up, and I think it will be full of surprises. And as usual, by the end of the podcast, you will have this week's trading tips. Make sure to listen to the disclaimer at the very end and hopefully enjoy the next 30 minutes. It's a new Monday, my friends, and it's the first Monday of December. In last week's podcast, I told you I thought it would be a green week, and I'm very happy to say it became a green week. Nasdaq up 236 points, ending the week at 11,462 points, or up 2.1%. Dow Jones didn't do that well, only up 83% or 0.24%. But still, green is green. And it was especially the Wednesday that moved the market just as expected. This week, a few things awaits us, and we will look into these things before we, at the very end of this section, will say what I think the week will end like. Will it be a green or a red week before, as usual, moving over to the trading tips. And I hope some of you are enjoying your coffee and are enjoying some very good greens if you were into the Xpeng trade. Anyway, this week doesn't hold much fundamental news, but there are some. More important is that a lot of things are now stacking up. Things I've been telling you for in weeks and months ahead. I finally see them stack up, and I will spend some time in this podcast explaining a little bit more what I think will happen in the future, because we cannot base our trades only on what is today or tomorrow. We have to try to position ourselves for the things that awaits ahead. Either it's increasing the portfolio size, reducing the portfolio size, because we do not want to be caught by surprise. If you are able to evaluate somewhat correct, it should be strong gains. If you think Xpeng was just a random choice, you're very wrong. It was very, very qualified guesstimation, because in the end it's more like a guesstimation, but I was right about it, and that made my portfolio extremely happy last week. For the week ahead of us, there are some numbers coming out. There is two things that you should keep an eye on. It's the producer price index. It's just an inflation gauge, but still it holds some value. I don't expect something drastic. Could be in the upper end, but not the kind of news to move the market in a positive way. In worst case, it will just put a damper on the market. Then Fed will give an insights in their thinking, but I don't think either that will be revolutionary. So from the fundamental news that is around us, there are nothing this week that really qualifies for shaking the markets either direction. And it's good, as you know, I told you before, I like when it's quite weak, because it enables us for better predictions. But a lot of things are brewing behind. Last week I told you, pay attention to oil this week, because the oil cap for Russian oil will come, the OPEC Plus meeting will come, and I think we will start to see heavy movements in oil. And that brings me more to the future. So what is happening now? If you pay attention to weather forecasts, you will see that a real strong cold front is moving in. It will come in over Norway during the end of this week, I think. then go down to England, then come in over the Eastern Europe and the rest of Europe, and it's supposed to be very cold. What happens when it gets very cold is that you have to use more energy to fire up. And as I told you, months and months over, when we get somewhere in November, December, my guess is we will head for an energy crisis. And I think it's brewing up to that point. In addition to this, we have G7, etc., putting oil cap on Russian oil. We have OPEC doing things. We have Russia saying that, okay, anyone putting oil cap on Russian oil will not get any oil from us. We are in a situation where things can really, really backfire much more than thought. I wouldn't pay much attention to what Yellen is saying because she's usually more wrong than she's right. It's a kind of Cathy Wood story in 2x version. So when they say that the oil cap will make sure, the oil cap, which means that Russia is only allowed to sell oil to Europe for $60 per barrel, will make sure that oil prices go down and there will be a steady supply of oil in Europe. I am not so sure about that. Europe and US have been very wrong about Putin many times before. They think they can control the man, but they cannot control the man. Russia is an empire by itself, and they are facing a huge challenge in their existence, not so much because of Ukraine war, but in general. The Russian Empire has been crumbling for decades, and now it's not much left of that empire, and they are doing their final struggle. And in such a situation, I'm not sure that Putin will just bend over selling the oil for $60. He might just do what he say, not send oil to countries which selling oil with Russian oil cap. In addition to this, we had the sabotage of the gas pipelines. Yes, a few days after Norway opened their gas lines to Europe, but it will not be enough energy for Europe. So, as I said and argued for before, I see things coming together now. I think this will happen. The following scenario will happen. We are heading for a situation where temperatures are getting cold, much colder than people was thinking. We're hoping for global warming would keep for a hot winter, making the war in Ukraine easier, etc. Europe less energy dependent, and all these things would go in the right direction, but sadly it is not. We are heading for a very cold period. Hopefully it will be a short one, but what if this is that long 3 months? Anyway, we are heading in for a situation where energy will become costly, and you can already read several places that they are doing different actions to prevent total chaos. I think it will come, it shouldn't be a surprise, but I think it will come as a surprise. And it is some 10-14 days where my guess, by we getting to Christmas, you will start to read all kind of news of businesses struggling because of extreme high energy prices. And you will have different banks trying to print money to give electricity support. And all of these things will just do the one bad thing. They will again fuel up the inflation. Because energy is such a huge cost of inflation, it will just fuel up inflation. And as inflation go up, again, the only tool left is the interest rates tool. Meaning that when the bank says, oh no, the interest rates will stop at 5.5 and inflation is under control, I'm not so sure about that. I am prepared for a much worse scenario. And it doesn't deviate from the things I've been saying for the last 2 years. I think there is more pain ahead. So how will this affect markets? We know that the stock markets will turn long before the rest of the market, but the stock market cannot handle a long period of negative news. So my guess is the following. We are in a situation, and I will argue a little bit about buy signals and a few other things, where we might have a short upturn before Christmas. Usually is a good time for a stock market statistically, and market's been falling and falling, so an upturn now is not unnatural. So there is a good chance for a short upturn. Maybe not this week will be the best, that the last 2 weeks of Christmas may hold some good greens. But everything indicates that next year will start on a very, very bad note. So what kind of stocks do we go in? Do we buy stocks then which has low liquidity? No, we will go into stocks with high liquidity so we can get out. If I'm right and we are heading for a bad season, we do not want to get stuck in stocks that will fall 10-15% on a very red day. You want those stocks following the markets down 1-2% because your losses will be less. So I've been playing the risky card. XPEV was a risky card last week. I will not play so much of these cards as we move forward. Only if I see a good upside or it's a small portion of my portfolio which I'm willing to risk. In general, I will hold more secure stocks. So let's finish the argument. I believe energy prices will go sky high. I once said I think oil will top at 200. That will only happen if things backfire, which I think they will. It will be a short-term rally because the world is heading for a recession, stagflation, and the end note of that thing is a very low oil price and interest rates going to the seller. But I don't think these things will happen before mid of 2023. So for the next some 6 months, I think it could be brutal. Hopefully I'm wrong, but we will keep an eye on this. Oil went up $6 last week. It was heading down, then it turned around because what Putin said and because what OPEC Plus said. So it was up 7% last week. As I said, this week will be very special for oil, and I hope I will be wrong and we see oil plump to $60. Nothing is better because that is really good fuel for stock markets. My gut says that we will go up and we will go high. Does that mean that you should put more money into oil stocks? I have a huge oil portfolio as is, but I will actually start to reduce my exposure, because what if I'm wrong? What if Biden and his crew is right, that they will be managed to force the rest of oil producing world to lower their prices by putting a cap on Russian oil, etc. If they are right, we have seen the top of oil companies as is. So I'm not going to increase my exposure, despite I think we are in for a very strong rally. I will actually reduce my position, be a little bit more picky which stocks I hold, because as I said, it is a chance I can be wrong. When we bought oil at $20, these oil stocks we were hamstring at $20. Oil was $20. That time is over. That was an obvious buy. This next rally is fair chance, but not obvious. So we will not gamble on it, but you should keep an eye on it, because if I'm right and we start to see strong movements in oil, you can do some intraday picks or intra-week picks and enjoy a super rally. But in general, I think it will be a short rally, short-lived rally before things get more back to normal, and that super fun in oil is slowly coming to an end. In the background, dollar is weakening. Has to do with the Fed saying that they will slow the pace of the interest rates. But as I told you, when that thing starts to happen, you will see gold go up, and gold went up $52 last week at $1,812 per ounce, up almost 3%. I like that because, as I told you, I'm in gold, and as I told you in either last week or the few weeks podcast before that, maybe you should look into gold stocks, because you like the situation where gold is going up and oil is going down, because oil and fuel is such a huge cost of gold mining. meaning that there might be some upside in gold stocks, but you have to be careful and pick stocks which I would say have good fundamental values, meaning that they're actually producing gold and producing profits, and not typical startup companies or small cap companies. Try to go for some of the bigger ones. 10-year treasury yield, the one thing that we really like to keep an eye on. Well, it fell last week by almost 6%, down to 3.5. Very good, below that. We know that as that go down, the stock market should usually then go up. When it goes up, stock market should go down. But again, I think this is temporary. I think, and I will argue last time, I think that the markets now believe that the interest rates top is done, but I think they will be taken by surprise by energy prices skyrocketing as the cold comes in and winter comes in and it gets even more dark. I think that reality will shake the markets a bit. Energy stocks, of course, can be a very good gamble. Gas-related stock, gas transporting stocks, anything like that should hold some more. But let's focus a little bit more about just the week ahead of us. So we had an okay week last week. In a few minutes we will just look at the chart and you will see that Nasdaq is in the top of the trend, facing down after having a top in the relative strength index, etc., and is more likely to go down than up. No special fundamental news. As I said, if they will do anything, I think they might put a toll on the market, because I don't see any of the news coming now to be extraordinary good. So from the fundamental side, we see less, I would say, positive, and a little bit more on the negative side, or at least sideways. What about the signals at StockInvest.us? We analyze more than 36,000 tickers. Some 26 to 28,000 of these are qualified for signal giving. And right now, 36% of all the stocks that we analyze give buy signals. This is way too high. It means that we are forthcoming a correction. But again, as I said, when numbers are this high, and you will see very shortly that the Nasdaq and New York Stock Exchange is way higher. When it is this high, it can move even faster up. So again, we are in that argue. It could be a 2-3 weeks of very nice markets. It's a high chance for that. At the same time, we are for sure getting to a top where we will have some brutal reds following. And as I argued before, the end of the bear market is usually followed by some extreme falls. We haven't seen these extreme falls yet. Usually it's 3 of them, and that signals that very bottom of the bear market. We haven't seen them yet, so I think, as I said before, it's just a normal short-term reaction upwards, and everything in these numbers says the same. Nasdaq 38%, very, very high, but a little bit down from last week, while New York Stock Exchange is 48, way too high. I guarantee you it will be some red stocks on New York Stock Exchange this week. London 35, up from 33 last week, and Tokyo has actually fallen a little back from 35 to 20, while Shenzhen China is back up at 39. So from the signal side, we will move to the chart, come to a conclusion, and head for the trading tips, where you'll hear what kind of stocks I think will do good this week and what kind of stocks I will buy for the trading portfolio that we follow in this podcast. All of this tells me it's still that fair chance for things to go up. Things are high, it can go very fast upwards. At the same time, the risk is really increasing, and we will let the chart decide. And I know a lot of you are listening to this podcast on Spotify. I'm happy to say that it also now is available as a video version on Spotify. Very nice addition to that, and I am so grateful for the 5 stars people are giving. I'm really happy about it, and I'm even more happy about the nice comments from people being able to utilize this podcast to make some better decisions and make some more greens in the portfolio. So if you are one of these, please comment below in the YouTube video or give me a thumbs up in Spotify. Even if you don't like this podcast, give me a thumb down. It's just how free speech and free markets should be. I do my best, and the end goal is always the same. I want to help you reduce your losses, increase your gains. That's the one really aim of this podcast. Looking at the chart, we can see what I said. We are in the top of the trend. Relative strength index found the top at just 75, just topping on overbought and falling back. Volume was topping up. Everything indicates that we will fall down. We hit that resistance which I told you about last week, where the market most likely were to move between, I think I said, to be honest, I cannot remember if it was 10,600 and 11,500. It was some intervals I gave you, most likely, and it hit that top interval and is now facing down. The good thing is that all that we see in this picture is natural. The index hold buy signals for short-term moving average, long-term moving average, even the relation between these two, and with that very strong support below, there is nothing in this chart saying that it should be brutal right now. There is extreme support from 11,200 all the way down to 10,600. So that journey should be slow and painful if it happens. Or it has to be pushed by some very negative markets. So for the week ahead of us, I think it is a fair chance that we can have a slight red week. I don't expect very much. I think it will be somewhat volatile, a little bit up and down. But by the end of the week, I think that we will be slightly in the red, but not much. Saying that, for selective stocks, it will be a very good week. If we turn up, which I hope, there is very little resistance above, and suddenly we can go into a very strong market. So you just have to pay attention. Markets turning a little up, no resistance above, we can go very fast upwards to 13,000 points. Everything indicates that it will happen. It's just saying to me that maybe during this week we will go a little sideways, a little down. And the next bounce will be from next week, where market starts to bounce up and ending this argument. So I think it will be a slight red week, not much by so. But putting things together with the things that I said previous, I think markets may have a slight red week now. Bouncing up, little resistance above, maybe do a Christmas rally. But as we go in some, let's say 2 weeks ahead, you will start to see tons of news regarding energy, which I think will be the one killer, excuse me, for what happens after Christmas. And then it just might be back to dreadful red again. Anyway, that will be the conclusion for this week. Everything is looking better bit by bit because of the support below. We really like that. It makes for a higher chance that markets turn. And despite what I'm saying, we not know for sure when stock markets finally found the bottom. It may just have. I'm just giving you the ideas of what I think. So that's it. Coming up after a long introduction will be a much shorter trading section, where I will tell you what I think will be the stocks to buy this week. So you hear that Xpeng is out of the portfolio, and you may wonder, so why did he sell? Well, to explain this very shortly, is I follow very strict rules using stop loss. In some cases, I do not ask for the America trade. I do not put a stop loss, but in general, I do stop losses, and XPEV was cut by stop loss after an insane rally on Thursday, if I remember correctly. The stock went up at 12.68 and just fell from that point and was cut by stop loss at 12.1, giving 65.75% profit. What a nice profit. And I promised you in the opening of the podcast to tell you what do I think will happen with XPEV forward. Well, XPEV is a growth stock. These stocks been really hammered. If you look at the charts, everything indicates that they will just continue upwards. So I think XPEV, NIO, Lee, and eventually Tesla will head for a nice upturn, especially if I'm right and we are heading for a Christmas rally. I think these stocks might do very good. In general, and I told you also this many times before, the future will hold green economy, and green technology is just how it is. We are growing insanely fast. The populations in cities are growing very fast. There is no way we can drive fossil fuel cars like we do. So I love fossil fuel cars. I love the smell of gasoline. I love engines. I love burning and everything related to that. And think that electric cars is not as fun as fossil cars, but still, I have to admit, the future belongs to electrical vehicles, and they are getting better, even adding sounds to make them more impressive, and they are impressive in terms of the horsepowers that you can get out of electrical vehicles. I think I saw Tesla released one that was doing 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just about 2 seconds. So there you go. Anyway, I don't think the future will hold fossil cars. And that means that electric vehicles are here to stay. And these are growth stocks. They've just been hammered by a very bad market. And you had NIO, I think, around $60 falling very hard down. They are below what I would consider fundamental value, and everything in the technical picture indicate that they might be turning up. So if you are in XPEV and wonder when should I sell, well, it's totally up to you. If you have a very long view, you will just sit very tight and hope to go up. Remember, we bought XPEV $7.3 in week 47, then you can afford yourself a very huge stop loss. Anyway, mine was cut, and XPEV is out of the portfolio. Microsoft continues to do good. That was the other stock in the portfolio, ending the week at $255, still in the portfolio, up 5.47% so far. America still a struggle, and it will remain a struggle for some times more, only if the markets turn, like I think, into a minor rally. I think that you can see some nice movements as people do some tax refund on losses by the end of the year, especially relating to stocks like America. Hopefully I will be right, because it's been a very long wait for these stocks as is. So the 3 stocks that were in the portfolio, Xpeng went totally crazy, was cut by stop loss, giving 65.75% profit. Microsoft still in the portfolio, not sold, just ticking upwards, $255, up 5.47%, and Xpeng didn't do much at all. Still, absolutely fantastic week. What are the trades that we can do this week? And again, I know some of you are just fast forwarding to this section, trying to pick up the stocks, losing all the things that I said before, all the arguments before. But also this week, I will do like last week. I will not overexposure. I will be very limited. I already have 2 stocks in the portfolio. I will only add 1 more. Simply because I think there is a fair chance the week will be red. And the week as such will be red, and things can suddenly could go all kind of directions. I do not want to be overexposure. I'm not here to gamble. I'm here to reduce losses, increase gains, and this is one of the ways doing it. So what stock would I pick for this portfolio? First off, there is plenty of stocks out there that probably will do very good last week. I said, this week. I said last week, keep an eye on stocks low on the relative strength index with very good support below. These might just do very good. And they did. And they will do the same thing this week. They will be the stocks being picked up and should give very nice screens. Been very spot on these stocks. Some stocks you should be a little careful about. All stocks I mentioned to you, it's a gamble. Don't be too sure that it will go straight up, even though I think everything related to the oil cap on Russian oil will backfire and we will see oil up to 200. I might be wrong. It might go down to 70, and that means that Chevron and all these companies will have a slight downturn. If you see things move in oil, just go in and grab oil shares, because then it might just be that super fun. Anyway, plenty of stocks. I told you where to find them. Look for a low relative strength index with very good support. Very important, this thing, keep good support below. And also just pick stocks in very upward trend, stocks that are in the stock upward trends, because these will face any challenges much better, and with a huge potential for an upside. Like I said, some green weeks ahead, they will just continue to rally upwards. For the week ahead of us, I want to get into NIO. Microsoft will be my safeguard. Somatic I cannot do much about. I don't want to overexposure. Still, I want to be for possible strong gains. NIO will be the tip. The problem will be to get in as low as I can. That will be the true challenge of the day. I hope it will open red. I don't think so. It probably opened very strong green because there is some momentum into these stocks now. But if it opens very hard, hopefully there will be a break somewhere around midday, given an opening. Looking at the NIO chart, you will see that there is huge chance the stock can just push up 20% more or even more. So NIO will be the card that I want to try to get into. I hope I will be able to do that, get a good price. I don't think that we will do an XPEV trade this week, meaning that we will do 65%. But if we get the right price, I think there could be as much as 20-30%. And who knows, maybe markets just decide it's time for Christmas rally and we go for a double, triple. You cannot tell. These stocks have extreme potential upwards, very limited potential downwards. Still very volatile, meaning that they move a lot, and it's sometimes hard, because my clear recommendation is think to have EVs as a part of your portfolio. But if you get into, so you missed XPEV last week, and this week you get into NIO after they've been up 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% last week, and you think, oh, that's too much. These stocks have been much higher, has the potential to go 10 times up from today's level without any problem, if they keep their production up and the margin levels at the same time. So that's a place where I want to be. At the same time, if markets dip down, you can easily have 30% even more losses in this, so you have to look at a little longer time frame. No meal is for free, and this one is risky, but I think the outcome in the end will be very strong. I forgot to mention GameStop will have quarter results. I think it's on Wednesday. You will have DocuSign Thursday maybe, and I think it was Li Auto on Friday. These are stocks that also may move very much. So that's the tip for the week. Try to get into NIO, but try to get in as low, because it will be a volatile ride. We have to find a very good entrance level, and hopefully we can enjoy a new upturn. That was it for today. for this week's podcast. I will be back next week. By Christmas, I will have to make the decision, should I continue with this podcast series, which been a few hundred podcasts already, getting on to the third year, or time to move on. It's not only up to me, it's a little bit up to you. So please comment below, help me grow the YouTube channel to get some views. And we will make a good decision. So far things are looking very good, but it can always get even better, and I hope you can help me with this. Comment and like the podcast. And as I said, if you don't like it, if you think I'm talking just a lot of rubbish, well, just say so. You are free to say whatever you like. And if you think I missed out on something, or there is things that you want me to look into, please comment. I love to learn, and there is so many smart people out there. Such an amazing crowd, knowledge, and please share your knowledge. Is there stocks that we are missing out on? Please list them below. And I will even mention them next week if I see them. We are here to help each other. There is one thing we want to do. We want to increase our gains. I want to increase my gains. I want to continue this green streak on my portfolios. And I want to help you do the same, and you for sure want to do that. First Monday of December, few weeks till Christmas. Enjoy, please enjoy. Enjoy a good cup of coffee, enjoy a good talk with friends, and I will be back next Monday. And if you don't miss me, I will miss you, and we will speak in just a week. Bye.
Welcome to StockInvest.us podcast. We remind you that trading involves a high risk of losing money, and that you should speak with a financial advisor before buying or selling any securities. You should not base your investment decision upon StockInvest.us. By using the information provided, you agree and are held liable for your own investment decisions.